Greetings, peace,
Peace.
Shabbat shalom, everyone, and welcome to House of Yuya, the after show. We are sisters, of course, from the House of Yuya, and we are following up our master, our head, Jegna, founder of Anu Nation, Chief Yuya, his segment on healing the inner child. If you didn't get a chance, make sure you go back over to the Anu Life Global Ministries YouTube channel to check out that Sabbath message. It was a beautiful Sabbath message where he talked about, we actually touched on some topics we discussed last night in our study session, just about the different archetypes that we tend to live in. And some of us may have struggled with moving from that childlike archetype into our adulthood. So Master gave us a great overview of what the different inner childs we all may have and how to speak to those inner childs and move from a healthy or move into a healthy, more adult space as opposed to letting those inner childs just persist with the unhealedness. So we are going to jump right in. Is there anything you want to start us off and share?
I can just share I know it's not many people here, but I just kind of want to share like the different the adult mindset really quickly. Peace, Aki Isaiah, peace. Just some of the things that he shared that was the adult mindset. So he was saying like one's ability to get over things. That was one. I was like, okay, I wrote that down. He said they serve. So they're always looking to see what they're not always looking to see what they're going to get out of a situation. And also the adult mindset, they accept their role as a role model. So they embrace that, take that on like, okay. And they forgive. And also adults prophesize. But I think he was more so speaking about the men. He didn't mention women. So I was just like, okay, maybe that's just for the men. But I have a feeling it's for both. And then he mentioned also another aspect of being an adult is being responsible for what you're not responsible for. So just a little bit of some of the things that he shared today. I thought this was a great segment because the whole time I was trying to figure which child I am. Well, I immediately started like, am I this one? And then he mentioned the second one, like, am I this one? So he started off with the wounded, independent child. But I wasn't sure if it was the same as the abandoned child, or he might have started off with the child that's throwing tantrums, the wild child. So with the spoon, but he spoke about that last night with the child with the spoon. They just kind of throwing things and just acting all crazy. I definitely was not that one, so I cannot relate to that. I don't think any of my siblings or cousins was even that child. Because maybe one, my nephew, but
I don't think I was that throwing tantrums. I wasn't that. I could say probably the abandoned child for sure. That was But one of the things I thought was beautiful, and as people are coming in, we'll greet them. Right now we have 3 people, but we'll just keep going. One of the things I thought was beautiful, and I kind of mentioned it, but I was like, it was great that we were able to have a build prior to even being told this is the Sabbath message for today. And we were just able to share some of the things that we're working on and actively trying to, heal within ourselves. And it was just a great message that Master gave today, because it wasn't necessarily like some of the things he shared, it wasn't like we haven't heard it before, or we haven't been hint to like, hey, you need to work on this, or hey, you need to be looking at this scripture, or trying to understand what it's actually saying and how it relates to what's going on with you. But I think this was more like it adds fuel to the work that we should already be doing. You know what I mean? So it's not like this is just pouring and, he's giving it to us in a different way. Maybe, it didn't work this way, but he's giving it to us this way. And I think that goes back to him, to Master saying, like, you have to be one less just ignorant person in the world, and you have to show up and be ready to serve. So it's like he's giving us, constantly giving us what we may need, and he may have to give it in a different way, but that he never stopped doing it, because he understood, like, this is what I'm here to do. And I think that's a beautiful example. And I will, everybody got that. those who are in our new, like we get like, okay, he's constantly pouring and so. And
Absolutely.
shalom to Sovereign Eats, Akoti Maria, shalom, shalom.
Please feel free to join the build. I feel like we all can like, share, our different like which, child we have inside of us, and even answer the questions if you like, if you want to share the questions that Chief has shared on the segment. So I can
Yeah, so
repeat those questions, or well, I'll wait for more people to kind of flow into
we can
the show.
we could throw it in there. Just
Oh,
there were three things. I think he asked us to name the biggest hurts in our childhood. And I may be paraphrasing this, but to name some of the three biggest hurts in our childhood that played a pivotal role in the way that we saw the world. And then three most joyful moments as a child. And then just kind of mark where you were in your journey. And just that's a part of being responsible, I think, for the things that we have to work on. So those were the three questions, and I hope I said that correctly. But that's what we're going to be asking for those who want to hop on and share or share in the chat. Feel free.
Yes, you did share that correctly. So I guess we can just get into. You want to get into the first point. I'll just share when he was sharing about the independent child, the wounded child. That was the one that I wrote like, okay, I definitely want to speak about this, because I was like, I think I might be that one where it's like you had to like support yourself, and you kind of had this like, well, I'm independent, because I remember moments like, the thing with me is like I don't have a good memory with different childhood experiences, but I do remember there was a pivotal moment where I was just kind of like, I'm gonna have to do things on my own. And I think it was when I was always told like, okay, we can't afford this, we can't get this, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna start making things out of paper. And I remember I wanted like maybe there was the princess inside of me, because I was like, I wanted a visor so bad. And I tried to I made one out of paper, and then I wanted braces. I don't know what made me think I needed braces, but I was trying to make my own braces in the mirror, like doing something crazy. But I just would try to like go off and try, like, I learned how to do my own hair at 8. I was like, I'm just going to do my own hair. And I was going to school looking crazy, but I kept doing it until I got better and better. Everyone was laughing at me like, what's wrong with your hair? And I was like, well, I just felt like my mother, she was like, your hair is so nappy. And so I was like, well, I want to look pretty too. So I'm going to learn how to do my own hair, since it's so hard and difficult. And so I learned how to do that. And I guess those are some pivotal moments, just why, like, what cultivated the independent child that was inside of me at that moment. I think that's what was working. I think I was around, I want to say 10 years old at the time when I was thinking like that. Sovereign Eats says, peace. Sovereign Eats says he also charged to jot down some pivotal moments in our childhood, which impacted and changed how we thought and how we see things. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we all have different moments and different things. I can say, oh man, what was some good moments? I don't know. I mean, I definitely have a lot of bad moments, because I would say I'm the abandoned child.
Okay.
And that's something that I'm having to still work through and really address. But I would say even, I don't know, I saw, my father, I always refer to my father, but I saw peace, master, shalom, shalom. I would say, I don't know, I saw my father, even in the midst of him like kind of losing everything. I remember him going back to his he started seeking out his first grade teacher, and my father was old at this time. And he wanted to find her because she had left such an impact on him. Now, this man is like 60 something years old, and he's looking for his first grade teacher. And he went back to his old neighborhood. He was trying to find her, and he couldn't find her, but eventually he tracked her down. She was in a nursing home, and come to find out, she didn't have any family or anything. So he went, he would go and see her every week and just bring her, he would just buy her things, or he would sing to her, just, have a word or something positive. And it made her feel like, oh man, thank you. Like, this feels like Christmas. That's what she was saying. And, and shortly after she transitioned, but she didn't have any family. And I think that was like to me, that was like a stamp of something that it taught me something. And I remember speaking about it when my father transitioned, but it was like, what do you do with your time? And to me, that was an example of someone who's serving. And it's like, okay, do you get that lesson? Do you get that lesson like as an adult, as a man? He could have went on with his life, but to say, well, let me go back and think of someone who taught me as a child, who gave me something as a child. Let me go find them, let me seek them, and let me pour back into them in whatever way that may be necessary in that moment. And I think that's a mature way of thinking. And I think, that's something that that's a beautiful lesson from my childhood that I need to go back and revisit myself and to remember, like, hey, you were taught this lesson, and how can you be that yourself as an adult? So peace, Aki, Isaiah.
Peace,
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 peace.
brother. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that segment, it was, I think it's something a lot of us try to avoid. I remember, like when I was growing up, I was very angry as I got older, just because certain things you do or don't receive by your child,
Mm-hmm.
and what that inner child is telling you, whether it's like get back to nature or whatever it is. And if your family or environment isn't supporting that inner child, you're at a balance. So that led to a lot of anger in me just growing up. And I remember a family member always saying, because I would refer to the past like, yeah, but I still feel some type of way about that. Even though that may have been 2 years, like there's something unresolved in me with of how that went down. And they would always say, well, that's in the past, and the past don't matter. And that saying just never sat right with me, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, well, don't we need to go pull from the past to find a way forward? In a sense. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would just say, like, this whole segment is super deep, but
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times adults ignore this kind of information, because, like, if you've been pitying yourself for years, um a lot of the times you don't want to acknowledge, maybe I'm addicted to the feeling of pity, or addicted to
Mm-hmm.
the feelings of anger, or whatever that looks like. So
Mm-hmm.
it could become a tough a tough pill to swallow in that sense. But
Mm-hmm.
you notice when you do start going back and speaking to that inner child, that, like, it creates a clarity and a peace, and it lets you move forward without feeling the weight of your past on you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, well, she did say like one of the hallmarks of being an adult is that you have to forgive. You have to forgive at a certain point and then become responsible for what you may not be responsible for. And I
Mm-hmm.
think about when I was speaking to my mother, and it kind of turned into a counseling session where she was just saying to me like, I just want someone to listen to me, and I'm like, I'm your daughter, like what you want me to do? But then in that moment, in that moment, I was just like, okay, instead of you like welling in my ear, I'm gonna be responsible and just share like what I do have, because it's like you're my mother and you're wailing and you're in pain, and I hear it, and it's like, and I'm trying to like, all right, let me say something, and I just share what was shared with me, like I understand, like, because I experienced that, so I understand where you're coming from. And but then I was like, after the call, I was like, yeah, that wasn't my, like, I was put in a position like not as a child mother relationship, but with something else. And I was like, that was I felt like I was being responsible in that moment by responding with ability that I had with what I learned and I knew. But
Mm-hmm.
I did leave like, oh, that was like that was a little dysfunctional, that interaction, because like she wasn't functioning as the mother in that conversation.
At any point, did you feel like, you didn't get what you felt like you should have gotten? Like she should have been the one listening to you and helping you, or?
No, because like I've come to accept that like that's something that I didn't receive, and I don't expect that from her. It's just more of like I just was looking to understand, like ask questions to understand her, and that was the only thing that I was doing. I was like I didn't come with any expectations or anything. So yeah.
I think there was a couple of things that was said, and it to me, when you said like you were able to give something that you have, I think that's a measure of like that serving, like just being able to just serve and realize like everything that we're receiving. And I knew the teachings that we're under, like we should be going out and sharing that light with others, no matter who it is. So I take it as the lessons that we're getting from this segment, from whatever personal conversations and sessions we're having with Master, like we have to move on it. So when those opportunities present themselves, we are being what we say we're gonna be. And yeah.
Peace, Aki for our peace. Welcome.
And there was something else, that forgiveness piece, and that to me kept sticking, because I think a lot of times I remember hearing it when I was younger, my early adult years, like super early. And people would say, "Oh, just forgive. You just have to forgive." And I remember I would say, "But how? How do you forgive? How do you forgive?" And not realizing like that forgiveness, it ties to you healing the inner child. But a lot of times, I think sometimes maybe adults, like he said, we're just walking around with adult bodies, but still have that inner child. So sometimes they don't actually know how to forgive or what that process looks like. And I think the examples that Master gave us today are just examples on how to actually do the forgiveness and the work, and changing that perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna share. Like, I also was like, when he mentioned the bush child, I was like, I think I might be that one too, because when he mentioned the mosquito, I was like, I have so many bites all over my arms right now because I can't stay outside. But it's like I'm just getting like tore up. So I was like, I don't know, there's something about nature that does calm me, and so I was like, I do like being outside, but I guess the real test is gonna come this retreat.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We're gonna see how that's gonna go. But I was like, I think I'm the bush child though.
I feel like I think I messaged you on the side saying that. I was like, I think that's you.
You did. What about you, Aki? I said, which one do you think that you're?
I was definitely a bush child. And I say that because I was always outside, getting dirty, running around, climbing trees. And it was hard for my parents to pull me out of that environment. So if they would keep me in the house all day, now I'm tearing up stuff in the house because I'm trying to make up for not being outside. Like outside, you could explore and tie sticks together, build a fort, do all kind of stuff. Let your imagination run wild. So, and I was the type of child like it was calming and soothing to me, like just going on drives, whether it be in the daytime or at night. Like even if we weren't going anywhere, like just getting in the car and like going out sightseeing or whatever that was. And I never liked what my parents was like. All right, it's time to go home. I'm like, dang, I don't want to go home. So yeah, I was definitely a bush child in that sense, but it's interesting because as I've got older, I spent a massive amount of time not in nature. So now at the age I'm at, like there's still that inner child that wants to get back into nature, but then there's there's also, I don't know if it's just ego, but there's other aspects of myself that are like trying to talk myself out of getting back into nature. So you could see how like when you don't support the inner child and what that's
Hmm.
calling for, how as you get older, layers of crust start to form around that. And then as you get older, it kind of takes some energy and effort to break through that crust to get to that child. So you can hear it clearly like, I want to go outside. That type of stuff. Yeah.
You see that
Baby,
comment?
it was for the streets. The street child.
Yeah, because he did say like bush child, not bush woman. I would say like I would make like mud pies, with my siblings. We used to make like different desserts. Like, but we used to feed it to our dog, which was kind of messed up. We were like, we got something to eat for you. And yeah, we was doing some crazy stuff out there outside in the backyard. Had no business doing. But we was
Oh
having
my goodness.
jumping off of the abandoned building that was behind. We would jump off the banister and be playing like just I don't know. It was fun. I would say we had our most fun. Well, I had the most fun outside. Like I always remember having the most fun being outside. So,
Man.
yeah.
I always think I was wild. I was called wild thing because I was the wild thing. I just wanted to have fun. I was always like, let's just play, let's have fun. And as an adult, it was like, you can't be playing all the time. You gotta be responsible. And I think sometimes that comes in hand like with the creativity. Like sometimes I'm like, I just want to draw and paint, or I just want to do something where I don't know, taking it to beer or something. And you want to do that all day long. And it's like, you gotta come back into the adult life. And there are things that you have to be responsible for and get done. And you can't waddle in that. But I do recognize like that sometimes that's an urge to feed that inner child
Mhm.
and to not negate it, but there's a level of balance that needs to be there,
Yeah.
so that's something I would say.
I think I
So
think that goes back to like
I got ringworms.
the
I
difference
would
of the
do it.
I'm sorry.
I
No, we did have ringworms too. I never knew why, but yeah, we would. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, I guess. Yeah.
You're good, you're good. But yeah, I think that stems back to like how you were saying, like, I just want to have fun. Like, I think that stems back to what Chief was teaching about like rites of passage, like having a ceremony where you're going from an adolescent or a boy or a girl
Mm-hmm.
to like a man or woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cultural difference, like the difference from certain Afro-Semitic cultures and environments and what those
Mm.
environments support. And then when you come to the Western hemisphere in that environment and what that supports, they're gonna tell you like you're the 9 to 5. We need you to sit in this office all day under these fluorescent lights, all that type of stuff. And then I never been to the continent, but it's like when you look at the different occupations from the artist to the musician to all that stuff over there, it's like from what I see, there's of course you gotta get down to business, but there's nobody over there telling you, you know, you gotta kill that inner child aspect of yourself to be an adult. That
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that when I look at the continent or indigenous cultures, it's almost like they acknowledge there's a correlation between that inner child and that adult. But in the
Mm.
Western Hemisphere, they're like, you gotta you gotta get rid of that child completely to become an adult. which I always
Mm.
thought
Mm. Yeah, from what she was teaching is that you have you can have all those different types.
Respect.
Yeah, inside.
Mhm.
So yeah,
There
I
was
even
one.
oh go ahead. Sorry.
You already know my internet, so it's lagging on me.
Oh, we can hear you
Yeah.
loud.
another reason I think I was a Bush child was because people used to find it very odd, but like as a youth, and I still do this to this
Hmm.
day. When it comes to animals, um, I talk to them, and people will look at me like, "Boy, why are you talking to that squirrel? That squirrel can't talk." And to me, they can talk, or at least they can understand me, even if they physically can't respond to what I'm saying. There's been times there's been like eye to eye contact with I've had with an animal, whether it be a deer or whatever kind of animal, and it's like there's kind of like a communication in that moment. It's like, okay, I'm getting some from you, you're getting some from me.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's what really kind of drew me to the bush child archetype.
Would you say now as an adult, are you like in the shadow part of that archetype, or are you like living like a person that's like a bush person now, or is it just something that you're like, I gotta get back to, or like heal that child so that it can be integrated?
I would say it leaks out in ways. It's been suppressed for so long that
Mm.
I definitely gotta get back to that. So there's a lot of work I got put into that area, getting back to where that comes natural to me. What
So
I
they
What are
just
some things that
funny stuff.
say?
What are
Oh,
some things that you're doing already? Like that you just like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. Or even if right after the segment you was like, all right, I'm gonna just hop on it now and do this.
Mm, I wouldn't say after this segment I'm gonna go out there and do it.
He finna
It's
get
gonna
dirty, y'all.
happen, huh?
He finna get dirty. He coming to the retreat with a wing worm.
oh.
Oh,
Going out there to play in
no,
the dirt.
no. But like, it's funny because like ever since I moved out to North Carolina, I've been having a hankering because there's there's trees everywhere and everything. We could be driving past a whole bunch of trees, and like there's almost like a quiet voice in the back of my head that's like, go walk up in them trees. And like I
Okay.
used to do stuff like that when I was little. Like
Hmm.
I remember we lived in a wooded area, and I used to just go.
Hmm.
You know how like when we was growing up, it'd be like a child could go out there and play. Your parents would tell you like, don't come or be back by the time the street lights come on. It'd
Hmm.
be like that mentality, but I'm in the woods. And of course I'm with my siblings and stuff, but I just go. We climbing trees and we in our own world out there.
Mm.
I just lose all sense of time and all that kind of stuff.
Because you
Yes.
having fun. It makes
It's
me think of children when they're like, outside playing and they just having fun and you got to tell them, all right, it's time to go home. And they're like, I don't want. That happened like I think a week ago. We saw it was a mom and her little son walking down the street. She had the scooter in her hand. And he was like, I
mm,
want to still play. And she's like, no, it's time to go home. Like it's time to go in. It's almost dark, But children like they get lost and like there's no sense of time.
Mhm. Right. Peace.
Shalom, Sister
Again.
Lahana.
peace,
Peace.
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 Shalom. Hi. I'm sorry for all the background noise. I have these two babies here, but I just wanted to hop in and just give thanks for everything that you guys are sharing. And the build that Chief just did, it was just really convicting me because we've had, like you were sharing, a lot of conversations around what kind of like work we're actually doing. Like we're learning all of this information, but how are we applying it? And I think I was really convicted because I have been in the archives and always listening, you know, in the shadows. And until recently, I haven't really asked myself at the end of each segment, what am I actually doing? Like, how is this tangible, you know?
Mhm.
Until we had that last build like a couple weeks ago where Chief was like, okay, what are you doing though? Like, how are you actually applying this? You can listen and wave that, you know, as like a point of vanity, or you can actually be doing the internal work. And I have these two children here, and every time I find myself upset or blaming, not doing my own work, I I'm convicted with how I'm treating them. And I'm bringing this up to relate it to the forgiveness that you guys were just talking about. Um, in doing the work was really addressing and asking these questions like, what kind of inner child do I have, and how have I been treating that inner child? I'm looking at when I'm impatient with my children. I'm looking at when I'm self-absorbed and I'm not present for them
Yep.
because of what I'm over here trying to get for myself or do for myself.
Mhm.
And it's all out of a lack of preparation and selfishness, you
Mhm.
know, with how I came into starting a family. So in doing this work, you know, it's like, okay, well, you already got boots on the ground. How do you get the cart before the horse? That's been the whole, like, how do you actually heal while you're parenting? You know, like it's how you can't just pause, you know, you're already in the midst of what you have going on. And I'm just really thankful for what you're talking about with taking a second and actually asking these questions. And when I am doing the Lord's Prayer and going back and listening to that segment where it's like your meditations aren't even heard because of the blame. And I think about that when I'm asking what you were just talking about with what prompted I have to go back to the chat, but we were asking about the prompt questions, and I didn't realize how much I still blame my parents for certain things. I didn't realize how much I deflect, you know, and how important it is to forgive. But then I have the audacity to say I'm doing this meditation and this prayer, but my heart is still heavy, and I'm still blaming, you know. So yeah, I wanted to share that because I'm looking at my children and I'm like, how do I say I stand on the shoulders of my elders when I'm blaming them and I don't understand this idea of forgiveness, you know, and how to actually let that go. So yeah, just thank you for opening up this dialogue and connecting the inner child work to forgiveness. And I just wanted to connect it to parenting because I see a lot of women, especially single women, destroying their children because we're not having these conversations. And while I'm blaming everything that came before me, my parents and my upbringing, I'm actively doing the same thing, you know. So um, there really is no separation. You know what I mean? Like it's necessary for me to address it right now because I'm actively watching how the work I'm not doing is affecting them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I can relate to that when like being stressed and kind of like taking that out on the youth. But I would say like instead of like listening to the sometimes like we kind of go into like the spiritual aspect instead of the very practical things that will help us in our situations. And my thing was like I was looking for like different like information to kind of help me instead of just listening to the directives that was coming from my children's father at the time and just like listening to that because those would have been the practical things I would have been do to get out of the the place that I was in, whether it was addressing my insecurities or the depression or the anxiety that I had. And I wouldn't face those things head on. I just kept like, well, let me go and listen to this podcast over here and kind of just chill and meditate. And but I was running, I was running, and only thing it took was for me to be obedient, like, hey, do this, just do this, let's, follow instructions, and I wasn't, I was too afraid and disobedient and rebellious to do that.
What's beautiful, Akoti, as you shared that, is like we just had that conversation right before the message, and it was like you get the what you need to do, and sometimes you still don't do it. And even in those moments, it's like, why am I still not doing what I'm supposed to do? Why am I being disobedient? And I think we were saying, like, sometimes it's recognizing like our will, our own personal will, whether it's that will to run away or that will to be lazy, that will to, just not do what you're supposed to do. Sometimes that's stronger than the will of the creator or the most high Yah. And so sometimes it takes us having to really pray and ask Yah, like make your will stronger than my own will so that I can do what I need to do, to be what I need to be, what you call me to be. And so I think sometimes it's you're going deeper and deeper and deeper as opposed to just, I'm just listening to the information. I'm just listening. It's more than that.
All right, and we're given the laws in scripture: lean not on thy own understanding, submit to your husband. So like we're given direct orders on what we're supposed to do, and if we just follow it, I don't think we will have issues. But I think it's like us kind of like going off and wanting to do what we want to do, and still that rebellion aspect and not truly wanting to be obedient. And I was actually talking to Akoti or last evening. We were speaking about love and obedience and how having the fear of the Lord, and how sometimes you may do things out of fear, but then like also we had a whole like study group session talking about like, well, who just does things, be obedient because you care, you love the creator? Why does it always have to be like I'm fearful and I gotta be obedient? But it's like, do you care though? What about that part? So we were just having like a dialogue about that, and speaking about the love between the original Asiatic Black man and woman, and how like when you I remember you saying like love transforms you. So like when you are it's like
I was just reading that whole thing.
Like if you care about that person, you're gonna change. So if you care about
right,
you're gonna change. And yes, there's fear of the Lord, but when I was looking at the Hebrew word of what fear is, it's respect. So it's like to
go back and to see. I think that's something that we've all been going through. For those who are not a part of I Knew, we do have a womb space. And we were building a little bit on that, like just respect and obedience, and earlier this strong. But being able to go back, sometimes it's that act of gratitude. Like you're missing gratitude. So you don't go back and see how the Most High is present in your life. You don't even see how he's connecting certain things or making certain things happen for you, where it's like you are not strong enough to do that. It's nothing you could say. I don't care how well you piece your words together. I don't care how much you get on the live and you present, I'm housing you, y'all, whatever. It's nothing you can do that can make the things that happen in your life happen. It's the Most High Yah. It's His grace. It's Him doing it. So it's like being able to take yourself out of it and really see where He's moving on your behalf. So just out of respect of that, like that kind of there should be some level of, what, I'm going to submit and I'm obedient to what you ask.
We have a guest. I'm so sorry. I hear Okra singing down like even when
he's sitting in the back.
Yeah. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
I've been the alienated child, the independent one. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I was, I've been alienated by family. I guess you could say my gifts was not special to them, and hey, I was the alienated one, but in some shape form, it was like, it's okay, CMB, all we got is us. It's all right, But then when you come into a space like I Knew, you know what I'm talking about, you enjoy, or you enjoy being around people that want you around, or like having you around, or like, and value your gifts when those that are your relatives didn't value your gifts, and then coming into the space, and I knew in my experience, uh serving with my gift and seeing how sometimes it touch other people, and you feel honored about that, when like I say, nobody else cared, you just the big brain, and don't nobody don't nobody care, but you want to share it or whatever, but you've been alienated, and you're cool with being introverted and not being around people and not needing a bunch of people, because you've just been that way and you never needed it, and then you come into looking for your tribe, and then you find it, and it's very heartwarming. I'll say it like that. It's very heartwarming to have that around you. You know what I'm talking about. And you do have to talk to that inner child, and come to terms with, yeah, my parents didn't do this, or this didn't do that. I've sort of had to come to that realization, probably like with one of my siblings. How we always been back and forth arguing, and didn't have that, or whatever, and they said something to me, that I used to get a lot of flack from with my family, and when they said it, that's that I basically I saw through them. And I'm like, yeah, because I knew what you needed it, and at that moment I was grateful that they said something, because I was like, I knew it wasn't crazy, even though I was a kid, I knew it wasn't crazy, I knew that's what you needed, and you ran from it, but it was okay, what I'm talking about, and but just getting that little validation in spite of everything, it meant a lot, what I'm talking about. And I tell you another thing that meant a lot, having the I do sister stick up for your boy, what I'm talking about, with my certain situation. I probably didn't say anything, but that touched me. What I'm talking about? That really touched me. I was very humbled. I'm like, my own siblings my own sisters want to do that for me. But you got these sisters right here. They actually stuck up for your boy. Tear. I felt special about that. Felt some kind of way. But yeah, man. When you've been alienated, you have to really talk to that child, and give it a hug. Say that's all right. We probably couldn't make it over here, but we got the power and creativity to build family and build family with other people, and sometimes that's been more meaningful to be able to say, well, you may can do it here, but you can do it over here. You may can do it with your own relatives, but you can do it with people that move a certain way like you move, and maybe that's what you needed. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
That's interesting. Like, you brought up the aspect of being misunderstood in a way, and it's interesting because I went through that too. I'm like, well, I'm just misunderstood, but what I had to go back and look at was I was looking at one aspect of it. I felt like everybody around me at that point misunderstood me, but I never asked myself, do I understand myself? Do I understand the inner child within? I misunderstand myself, so I can't be mad if other people misunderstand me. I don't even know what I got going on inside of me. So yeah, that was interesting. And what you said had made me think of that, because that was definitely a point where I'm like, all right, I felt stuck. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, all right, well, I remember saying I a family member always used to say when I was growing up. She used to say the only variable you could control in an equation is yourself. So remembering that, I was like, all right, well, I can't control what these other people see or the conclusions they come from. So let me go back and see what I'm working with. And when some of that work start to happen, now I'm understanding what's going on inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Now other people, well, even if they didn't see that within me, now I'm in a place where I don't really care because I'm focused on what's going on inside of me. So I ain't worried about opinions like I used to worry about them.
Mm.
So yeah.
You know, you said something that I just want to touch on as well, like being able to go to a space where you're understanding like what's going on inside of you, you know. And one of the things that I have found, like just taking key to what Master told us, like the meditation piece when he talked about meditating on scripture. And, you know, certain things have been told to me, like, hey, you exhibit this behavior. And you find that scripture and you meditate on it. And one of the things that I found was like, when you understand what's going on with you, you can then begin to look at other people who you may be harboring like anger, or you not forgiving them for what they did. And maybe the thing that they did to you is what you're doing to someone else, or the same, you know, behavior you're exhibiting. So being able to understand like, oh, this is what you're really going through. I feel you. I feel that same thing. I understand. So now I have compassion for you. So when I see you, I'm not like this, or, you know, like, stay away from me, you know, but now I can come to you also. Right. Yeah. You know, holy water. Get away. But it's like, but it's like there's a level of compassion that has opened up for that person. So it's like, I feel like that's like you're doing the work. You're doing the work because now you have some compassion for yourself. You have some compassion for others. You're doing the work to change. So when those people come back around, who knows? You may have a nice, kind word to give them instead of, you know, being defensive of going back and forth. So I think that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
You know, I think about what Safta said. Forgiveness has been one of the most powerful things that have allowed me to move forward. And I wonder if that's something that she did, what you are speaking about. Like, did she go back and see, like, well, I exhibit, you know, some of those things so I can actually forgive those people. If you want to speak more to that, Safta, to share like how you got to that place to be able to forgive. I just wonder if she did that and that was how, or maybe it was something else. Yeah. I thank you for sharing that. I was gonna ask, like, I know there's the I thought about the warrior, the warrior child. Has anybody had like can identify that inside themselves, maybe when they were a child, or maybe now, or
Resiliency, just having that resiliency. Maybe
I'll
just
probably say for me, you know, it probably came out late, you know, especially when I went into the military. I didn't realize I had it in a sense, you know, I get to play with, you know, you know, weapons, you know, get to fight a little bit, you know, it felt fun, but you know, also I was able to feel vulnerable. It was a time I was able to cry and not be judged. You know what I'm talking about? Even like when she was talking about, you know, how you know, you're in a fight, you know, and then you know you somebody's going to, you know, pass gas on you, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I remember that, you know, somebody got choked out and you know they lost their you know their bowel movements, you know, but they didn't feel no shame because we were all, you know, we all understood, you know, at that time. So I definitely understood that, you know, and I still go with that warrior child that says, well, I still want to, you know, you know, have weapons and sort of be in that vulnerable state. And I still want to seek, like for me, it's still wanting to seek truth, you know, because that's part of being at a sophomore. So I still want to, you know, I'm still seeking truth, you know, and still, you know, studying different things and, you know, but like, ooh, you know, this book, you know, and things like that, you know. Now she talking about Carl Jung, even though I know who Carl Jung is, like, let me get that book, you know, let me put that on the list, you know, let me write that down, you know, that because to further help with that, with having those conversations with that child. And But yeah, I definitely deal with a little bit with that, warrior energy where, I probably take a bump on the head and don't hurt that much, especially when I was a kid, because I used to butt my head a lot because of the way I walk. So boom, and I'm like, I'm okay, or something like that, or breaking a bone or something, and it's like it broke, but I don't know that it's broke, don't feel like it, till later, But yeah, I definitely feel that that warrior side at times, where you just go, you go, it's like go time, let's go, So yeah, I sometimes identify as that,
Yeah, because I can see it in a lot of us, and I knew, and I just wonder, like, was there times in our childhood? I can say for me, it came out when I would like advocate for those who maybe have been like outcast or that was being bullied. So every time she shared that story, I'm like, I can relate to that. I can relate to that because it was more so like I can take it, but like if anyone else was like, I would advocate more for someone else than I would for myself. So it's like if I seen someone kind of like off by themselves, and I'm like, I would go and like befriend them, like, hey, what's, as a child, like, what you doing over here? Like, what's going on? And they would be the coolest person, and I would have like a really great friend as a result. But I would say, like, even with my sisters growing up, my siblings, I would advocate for them. Like my older sister, even though she was older than me, she was kind of like, my mother was like, she drank a lot one night and she was just kind of just acting real crazy, like verbally, like saying things to her that was just like, oh man, I don't think she's gonna remember this the next day. But I was just kind of like, in that moment, I was trying to advocate for her. I was like, oh, leave her alone. I'm crying too. I'm a child. I'm like, leave her alone, and this and that, and and they was like, oh, she don't never. She's crying and talking. She barely talks, so she's over here crying, trying to advocate. So that's how it showed up for me, and even with my younger sister. Like my two younger sisters, they will always argue all the time, and I found myself like standing up like, hey, leave her alone, she's a young, trying to advocate. And like in different moments, like growing up, like I would have those moments where I'm just sitting there quiet, but when there was like a cause to speak up for, then that's when people would hear my voice, and it's kind of like, oh, he speaks, so so it's like that I would say that's how the warrior energy came out of me, as growing up. But
I would say in certain aspects, it definitely came out of me as a youth. I was into martial arts and I danced. So it was like, with fighting and dancing, even if I get hurt in that process, I'm not like, oh, my arm, like, I'm in pain. I'm just kind of like in a state where I'm like, yeah, that happened, but I want to keep going. Like, I remember I was younger and I was in my martial arts class. Or no, it was actually, we was in the neighborhood. My friend from my martial art class, we was hanging out at the park, and he had this little sister with him, and we was like talking to her about martial arts, and we like just showing her some stuff, and then we hyped up at that point because we both like martial arts, and we demonstrated what a kick looks like. Now, me, I act like the person who was getting kicked, and my homeboy, he was the one who actually threw the kick. So, we wasn't paying attention. I was standing too close, so when he act like he kicked me, he actually kicked me, and like he threw a full blown kick. Like this was a light kick, and it hit me in my mouth, and my two front teeth just came out.
Ooh.
Next week, I was still in karate class. I'm like, let's get it. People making fun of me, talking about my teeth. I'm like, all right, let's go, though. Let's go. And I was always like that with dancing. Like, I don't care if you tell me I can't dance. I have family members like, you can't dance. What, you trying to be like Michael Jackson? And
Oh,
like
messed
that
up.
just that never really threw me off. I was like, it was just something in me. I'm like, I'm gonna do this regardless of what you guys say about it. Like this moves me. So yeah.
Peace, peace, our
Mm,
peace.
peace,
Peace,
our
peace,
Bruce.
peace, 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 everyone. I'm excited for next strong peace.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
want to build from what Chief was sharing earlier. But one of the concepts that what Chief was sharing and was asking the question is, and again it touched me what Chief was sharing, and it always does. Chief always got those little pivotal moments. But one of the things he mentioned is we were chosen to represent God, represent the Most High, give honor and glory to God, and do it well. And this is why we're here, to represent the Most High. Okay, and in doing so, and that's why the inner child, for me growing up, I was always strange. I was, I was hearing Isaiah saying he was talking to squirrels. So I was talking to trains, the trains that go by because I didn't have friends as growing up as a kid, and I had a little friend named Hoppy, imaginary friends. But the thing is, that child in you, that little boy in you, that's what helped balance everything out. Because in the world of being a man, being a responsible man that's striving to build the kingdom, and then you get bogged down. You get bogged down by all the things and the situations in life. Whereas that time where I have to retreat, because again, you're just getting bogged down with life, working and school and everything. So I just want to give thanks and then add to the build.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's something I thought about as we were talking about, like, when did the warrior come out? And there was a moment that I saw with I knew this is when I first came in. Thank Barry when I first came in. But I would say to me it was an act of warrior, where everybody came together, and that was Softa Gertrude's uh, celebration. And to me, that was like I knew it was a group of warriors. That's what I saw. And because everyone was present, everyone was there to help. And it wasn't about, anybody's personal whatever wants or needs or whatever, but everyone showed up to celebrate a warrior who transitioned into the ancestral realm. And I remember watching that live and just saying, like, yeah, with some other people there in the building, and they were professing to be, who their Yah was or who their Elohim was, but it was like the anointing was on the Anu people, and you could see that. So to me, that's just an image that pops in my head when you talk about warrior, like being able to be there for one another and to move as a collective, and not be selfish. It's not about what you want, but we're showing up for each other. So that's my break.
That peace, Akoti Yafe, peace. She said, I love how Abu said the strangest things in the most normal ways. I look forward to seeing y'all dance. I found out that Aki Isaiah dance, Chief dance. I was like, I'm looking forward to seeing some dance moves I've never seen before.
I'm retired. I'm
retired.
I'm retired.
Because like, what? Oh, we can't hear you, Akoti Yafe. You there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
can hear you.
I was gonna say, I think we got some of those dance moves on camera.
Okay.
But I'll keep the evidence under lock and key.
Okay.
I just wanted to jump in and talk about a little bit about the warrior child. I wouldn't say that was the totality, but like as Chief was explaining the different aspects of the inner child, like, I think I could reach all of them, right? Like, even when he said, well, I was the alienated one and now I'm wounded. Like, I think, if I take those three things or maybe even more, I could find, where I was the wounded child, like maybe my parent said something, or maybe another relative said something to me that was particularly hurtful, and I didn't feel defended or protected, right? Truth or not, right? Because then it goes to like take responsibility for everything you're responsible for, and even the things that maybe you didn't have a fault in, but take responsibility, right? And but you asked about the warrior child, and I was like, I can, and it came kind of at the end when Chief was sharing his story about his brother, right? And he said his eyes started watering. I started bawling because I remember having those moments. I have two younger siblings, and having those moments where someone from the outside goes on the attack, you just see red. Like, well, at least for me, that's what it was, because it was almost drilled into my head. Like, my mom used to tell us, if one person comes after you, you all jump them. There's no such thing as fair fight with my mother. There was no such thing. If anybody did anything to any one of us and we were around, all three better get on them. But a lot of the times, what it came down to was me coming in, right, as like a junior mama bear or something like that. And I remember having those moments even with people who were not who were family, who were blood relatives, and like seeing something, I was like, that's kind of wrong, that's not nice. And seeing that face, like when Chief said he looked at his brother's face, I have seen that face on both ends. It's gut wrenching. It's gut wrenching to see that, and you just go into a different kind of mode. And I was not like, and I get it when he's like, I'm gonna make you leak. I wasn't there with it, because I'm also like, I feel like I'm a non-fighter. I'm a pacifist. I don't like to fight. I don't like to fight. I would talk my way out of it. But if I have to, but what I would use was words and just say the most vile things, like to like, I see that face on my sibling, so I'm gonna put that face on your face now.
Right.
You crossed the line, and that's what I. And I'm not saying like it was, because I also had that moment where I look back and like, just like he said, like he looked at this other child and was like, I did that. And then I had to sit with, like, I said that to that person.
I said that.
And that was wrong, but it was like, that's not what I was thinking of in that moment. What I was thinking of was this one who's closer to me, and whether it's out of duty or like, I really felt that, and I didn't like seeing that look on his face. So now I'm out for blood. But so it's instead of my hands, it was my words. They're like darts, poisonous darts. So, but it doesn't mean, I say that to say, like, it didn't mean that like that warrior was always supposed to come out. Like it had to, I guess as an adult, I sit and think back like, oh, well, I probably should have done it this way. And maybe I didn't have the tools at that time to do it that way, but I have them now. So like, now there's no excuse if I'm using like, particularly hurtful words for whatever reason, even if it's in defense of another person, I have to be responsible. So that was there.
I was interesting when you said that, like, well, you and Master saying like you look back and you reflect and you're like, oh man, I did that. I went through that same process this strong with one of my older siblings, because that was the case. It's one thing when it's like people that you're not related to, but it's another thing when you hurt someone that you are related to. And I had that experience where me and one of my older sisters were going at it, and it was over my father, but it was like you hurt him. I didn't like that. I'm like, you hurt him, so now I'm gonna hurt you, and and I said some things to them that I knew it was gonna hurt. Like I was like, I don't want to do this. I would say, don't push me because I don't like to fight, and I don't. But if you push me, I'm gonna say something to hurt you, because that's And I remember I was sitting down like this strong, and I was thinking about them, and that thing came over, was like, oh man, you said that to them and you really hurt them, and you hurt them. And I felt really, really like I just felt terrible, because it was like you could have came with another energy. Maybe you could have came with love, and I just pulled on one of the exercises that Master gave us, which was to write a love letter. And I was like, I know this person is hurting, because for them to do the things that they're doing, like some of the behaviors they did, now I'm exhibiting it. And I'm like, oh man, what? Y'all some
That's
rough.
right.
See,
Yeah.
had to though, just the children. We getting there.
We went to a warrior like, whew.
We was like her. But it did, you know, it did cause me to like pull out one of those exercises and write a love letter, you know, to that sibling. And I was like, you know what?
Mhm.
You have to be able to look at the person maybe and see what about them is beautiful. Like, what can you say you appreciate about them, or what are the moments where they showed up and they were, you know, distributing or showing love to you, or, you know, just trying to shift that perspective, you know. And yeah, I would say that was when y'all face shared that, I was like, I definitely understand. Definitely understand.
Yeah, I've been there. Like, you know, I'm always like that with my mom. We be like, hey yo, don't be talking to my mama like that, you know. But also, you know, one time like my sibling got into it with somebody, and I was ready to kick in the door, wave in the fofo.
Waving the
Luckily, you know, yeah, luckily my
Everybody
mom
get
got
on
me out of it because they knew I was ready to go. And also is like when even with older siblings, like I remember like my big bro, had an issue. I was like, hold on, don't be talking to him like that. I mean, I know who that dude is. Hey, yo, But also, I will also say that, we also, when she was talking about being that high chair tyrant, and it's like, yeah, I've sort of been there, or I've been the straight no chaser, no filler type, to say his mind as a kid and get in trouble. Like, I remember one time I told this grown lady in front of all the adults, Mama, she ugly.
Oh,
and
no.
and I was like, you don't say that. I can't hear you. Like, it really bothered me. Like, she is ugly,
Yeah.
But then that's when, as I got older, because that was a big thing. Everybody remember that one. Like, remember that time when you told that girl, she was like, okay. So, as I got older, and I had to talk to that tyrant. When I saw, because we didn't see her for years. When I saw her again, I was, grown, and I gave, that sister a hug, and it's like, I am so sorry I said that. I was wrong as a kid, I was really wrong, and she forgave me, but yeah, it was like, whoa, I have been that tyrant, to some people, and even I need to ask for forgiveness from, because yeah, sometimes that bothers you, because you in the heat in the moment, or sometimes you like, yeah, let's do it. But yeah, sometimes you be that tyrant, and it's like, whoa, yeah, so I understand.
One thing you said. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna. No, go right ahead. Go ahead.
No, it was something when you said, "Mama, she ugly," and I was thinking about, like, as a child, we just say things, and we probably don't even understand what ugly is or what beauty is. So I would think, when you come back and you may be in your adult mind, you may say, you know what, I said she was ugly, but I'm looking at this person and who they are as a person, or maybe something that they're doing that makes me see they're actually a beautiful person. But I just thought about correlating that to having a matured mindset in the way that you look at, what's ugly and what's beautiful. So maybe that's like you're you moving from that childlike mindset to the adult like mindset. So
Yeah, I didn't fling nothing on nobody. I didn't throw nothing. But yeah, I've sort of been that. I can say, yeah, I've been a tyrant. I probably have been even if it was a mild tyrant. I look at it and it's like, yeah, it was like I had to. The way I rationalized as a kid is I had to be a tyrant to keep others from being others from being a tyrant to me because they were. So it's like, okay, you're gonna push you back, get you, you know, or I'm gonna call you names too. You ain't about to hurt me, you know, or something like that. And then that's when you know you have to like, you know, check that little boy inside of you and realize, yeah, you know, adults don't govern like that. You know what I'm saying? They're not tyrants. You know, they're not despots. You know, so yeah, man.
You know,
It's like,
it was
my
interesting.
fault. Go ahead.
It was interesting as it was shared when El Karat was just sharing about being the tyrant in a moment or so, and like we all can say, we were late bloomers. Like I'm definitely a late bloomer in my warriorhood, and so, but even when I had my moments when I had to speak out, I'm always reminded that there's a difference between that inner child and an adult, and then that adult. Okay, let's come back to space because again, it's about that level of maturity, and so when you're developing, you know, like I know this when I had to snap and I had to say what I had to say. I usually say it in a way where like, okay, I come back. It's like it wasn't personal, okay. Versus if I had gotten it as a younger age and I was a tyrant as young, because I was very quiet as a kid. Like I said, it was just a couple years ago that my warriorhood really came out, and my Baba played that role in that, and then of course she played a role even more in us being an Anu, and so, but like you said, it's that level of balance, it's level of responsibility. It's like I remember my Baba was always sharing. It's, you know, when you have that type of authority, you gotta be careful with it because you don't want to abuse it. And then, like you said, sometimes you can hurt someone's feelings. I remember telling someone the time where I told me ugly and everything. I'm like, ooh, and I felt bad. I'm like, because I can say stuff that's, I don't need bullets. I don't need bullets, or you know, I can say it with my mouth. But see, that's how powerful your weapon you can have. So with that, I'm understanding that take responsibility with that, and then that's that part where you balance it out, where it's like, you know what, I was wrong, and then saying, you know, with it balance, and then also don't hold grudges, because I had to share with people that when I do say something, especially now being older, I'm like, I don't have a grudge against you. I just, whatever the situation is, I dealt with it, but I'm not holding it in. I'm not like, oh, I got to come and get you back or so. No. And that's sometimes where that balance, like she was sharing, if you don't heal that inner child in you, if you let it just go like children do. And it's funny how she was bringing it up. It's like, Dad, most adults act like children. They just keep, and they don't know it. So then if you don't have a balance where, okay, Johnny, go sit down, have a seat, because he doesn't know how, or she doesn't know how. So the question is, when we balance it out, and that's going to, by us having a community and by having the Jegna, which is a major role that I learned again a couple of years ago. It's so important that you have someone that can help balance things out. It's one thing to say that I believe in the Most High, I believe in the Creator, but also, like Chief was sharing, as above, so below. Where's your spiritual community? The community we have in Anu, where we can those checks and balances, that know that you're off, or like, no, you did right. So you need that balance.
Absolutely.
I think it's important as we go back to discover the aspects of the inner child. It's important that we gotta be patient, because it's a process, and I've done it, but not thoroughly. Where I've had those conversations with the inner child, I've done it enough to know it's a process, and it's not it's not always a quick overnight change where you just wake up like, all right, now I'm healed. Yeah, it's not always that. So a lot of the times you you just gotta go for the ride. But you know, I was thinking of the wounded child aspect, and I could say, you know, I thought I had the wounded child our type. But when you think about it, it's like Chief was saying before the video went off. There's a difference between childish and childlike. So, I know for myself, I really had to think on that and still do. But just because I know a lot a lot of people, including myself, will
Mhm.
say were injured when there was no attack in the first place. When you
Mhm.
think of like the wounded child aspect, you may thought you were wounded because your parents were giving you direction like wash those dishes, take out that trash, and you were so focused on what you were doing, you felt like that was a wound to you. But now you're
Mhm.
being childish in that moment.
Mhm.
Um the inner child is like a sense of direction. Like I was saying with me, like, or when you refer to a bush child, that's like a calling to get out there in nature, to be in nature. So supporting that, but just because an authority figure tell you like if you got a manager at your job and you slacking off, if he tell you, yo, get back to work, he's not like attacking you. He's actually doing his job by telling you to do your job. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to emphasize because I know as a youth, I kind of had a dramatic way of thinking where
Mhm.
I could be like, "Oh, you attacked me," but it was like illogical thinking, and it wasn't until I got older to be like, "That
What?
actually he didn't attack me. I just didn't like what was being said." So once I wasn't able to unveil that, I'm like, you know what? I was tripping. I was on one. So yeah, but like I, but like I said, this process definitely takes patience because I know growing up, I still deal with this. It's like you'd be like, by this age, I should be this far or this far, and it's like when you don't necessarily meet the benchmarks you want to,
Mhm.
it's like you could mentally beat yourself up. But it's like you gotta have patience to be like, okay, I didn't make my goal this month, but I stopped off right here. So how am I gonna get from this point to the point I need to be at? But you don't necessarily think like that when you ain't got patience. You're just like, I need to get it, I need to get it, I need it today. So it's patience that kind of like slows you up so you could be in harmony with every aspect of yourself to show up as your best self.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
everyone for
It's just
sharing. As we get ready to conclude, I just wanted to ask, what is one thing that you took away? Like, oh, this is what I'm gonna apply. I would say for me, the part when he shared like being a role model. That's the one I'm like, okay, I would like to apply that one. Or moving with that mindset, like everything that I'm doing is so that I can be a role model for someone else. Uh, how about you all?
Yeah, I would say it like you just said, like being a role model. And then this whole segment, it reminded me like, yo, it's not over. Just because you may have had one or two conversations with your inner child and you may have overcame one obstacle, like it's not over. You
Mhm.
still got to keep going because we there could be that tendency like when you came up when you overcame an obstacle that held you up for so many years. Once you overcome the obstacle, you'd be like, I'm good, I did that. And you could just kind of like slow up. So it was just a reminder, you guys still keep going, still talk to that inner child. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, I would say same thing, like being a role model, Continue to talk to the inner child, because you probably ain't talked to that inner child in years, but also like Chief talking about study, study child psychology.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Because not only will you have to talk to that inner child, but you might have to talk to your own children, and observe their inner child, and you might have to talk to them too, So I would say, yeah, those three things.
I would say definitely be a role model. That's a key. Role model, because you know what it is in the world, people are looking for something authentic. Everyone wants to be fake. And so now it's the time where, like some of us were sharing in our stories, it may seem weird when you hear what other people out in the public. What I love about being in our new is that, yeah, we have to be studious, we have to study, we have to apply the knowledge, but it's also the healing part. That's that part that most people may not think about, where Chief brought it up. And the healing part is, you can't go beyond, or you can't go forward if you don't heal that part. If you don't heal that part of you, maybe even the parts that, it's interesting because some of the things, if it wasn't for me being in our new, I wouldn't have known until Chief talked about it. It's like, dang, like trauma. The trauma inside, I never really thought about trauma until it was one of our retreats. She brought it up. I'm still recalling that. I never thought about it that way. And then from that moment, you have to, like you said, the inner child, that part. Are you giving him enough attention? Did you forget about he existed? He's a part of also the craziness that we have, and the part of us that we have. He's a part of all of that. Are you balancing it out? Are you so the role model? Also helping others raise out of their craziness, their chaos. Do they communicate? Are you, like Aki Isaiah was saying, are you patient with your own inner child, where you can be patient with others? Having my son, I get to talk with him because I just realized recently, there are times where I would be impatient with something, but I'm like, oh no, I can't. Oh yeah, no, I did that. Oh hell no, I can't scold him on that too deep, because I did that. I almost like, well, dummy, don't do. I'm gonna do that, and I did it. So that's where, again, don't be hypocritical. Be understanding that he's developing under his way or someone else. So being a role model, being patient, being balanced, and also be an example. Be an example. As it said, be anu. Be an example. Just be an example. Do the best way that you can. And like Aki, again, was saying about being patient, I know that I'm not always there. I go through that moment, those times, my moments where, it's easy to give into despair, easy to give into those negative thoughts. But at the same time, it's like, no, I'm striving. I am building where other people have given up. Where
Right.
people have said, "There's no way." No, there is a way. Like last night when Aki, Zach was saying, this is a space. What are y'all afraid of? Come on. Those of you didn't come to retreat. Come on to retreat.
Right.
You're scared, so what? We all scared. Hell, I'm scared. But this is the part, being vulnerable. Give in. I was scared of Chief the first 2 times I saw. I'm like, damn, what am I gonna say? I didn't know what to say. I didn't know.
I'd be scared of Suge Knight in New York too. I'm just saying.
Right.
You know. I'm scared. I ain't gonna mess with you, man.
I'm like, it's like, damn. But you get over that. You get over that fear, because why? It's like, no, it's okay. Okay, I know you raggedy. I know you funky. I love how she was saying, that's some funky music. You're so fun. I know you funky. But guess what? You gonna clean it up? You gonna clean up that funk? Not what she was saying. No, that was some funky music. I had to add that on to my playlist. But the thing is, just be anu. That's pretty much what I would share.
Thank you.
Akoti, I think we have Akoti Yafe and Sister Lahana, and then I'll close out.
I'll go. I want to say well, I will say, like, yes, take talk to the inner child and be a role model. And I would dig into it, like, as I'm going through those, or I would say three or more things, like, acknowledge that, you know what, the forgiveness part, right? Like, forgiveness. Because he said, like, signs of being an adult is to actually forgive and not really be like, okay, I'm sorry. And, just to say your piece, right? So also acknowledge that the forgiveness may have to be when that other party is no longer here, right? Whether they've transitioned or even if they haven't transitioned, but then acknowledging, like, it's not even something I have to bring up, but like forgive, because realizing, like, that person, that other person may have also been going through, and I guess this is where compassion comes in. Like, okay, I'll say it like this. Chief has said, we do this thing where we look at our parents as gods, right? And this is the best example I could pick up. And we have to realize, like, that's not it. Like, yes, honor thy mother and thy father, but realize, like, they don't got all the answers. They don't even know half the time. And I think about the age that I am now and the things that I grappled with and struggled with, and thinking, like, okay, well, when I was a child, they probably were going through the same thing and even more because they had children. So it's like acknowledging they probably didn't even know. And so don't sit and hold on to things so that I stay that wounded child, right? But like really think about, like, what may have been going on in that dispensation. I've now passed 32, 33, 34. I know what that's like. So it's like, what could have really been going on? Is it something that can be forgiven? And usually the answer is yes, because if I think about right now what the creator has done for me and what I've received in this lifetime, I have to sit and say, like, I had a pretty good life. It might be boring, but like, I know there are people who are way worse off than me. I honestly don't have anything to complain about. So why shouldn't I be able to forgive, and so that those wounds can close? So I'll say that.
Yeah.
I definitely would say being a role model, with revisiting the making this tangible and actually applying the work, and you not wearing a garment, it actually just being in you and being authentic. Um, yeah, with it took me to what in another podcast what Chief was saying with the we should be able to tell our children what they come through with. And I feel like you can only really speak to that when you're honest and you're consistently having these conversations with your inner child, and you're doing the work. So I um, I don't know what else that would be summed up as other than exactly what you all said, which is like embodying this, being Anu. And I know I'm not a member yet, which is something that I need to address, because there's you just get to a certain level where it's either you're doing the work or you're not, and that is being the role model. So I'm listening to this information and understanding that there is a disconnect happening because of the lack of work. So I'm just grateful to actually be in a space where you're being called to the mat to be a role model. You're either embodying this or you're actively acknowledging that you're not doing it. If you can't answer what you're doing, the answer is nothing. So the everyone proclaiming that being a role model is the aspiration, it just kind of drives that. You have to pick up your cross, you have to reestablish with the Most High, and we do that through all of the things we've been talking about in these podcasts, joining a community like Anu, and calling Aki and Akoti that charge of brother and sister, seeing the inner child, restoring that light and that respect through consistent confession and apology, all these things that you all have been building on, and what it means to actually embody that. Um, Again, I'm grateful to be allowed in the space to hear what it and to see what it actually looks like to apply and not talk about it. So the role model is the aspiration. It's the work. That's what I'll say. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Sister Liana. I mean, I would say for you or for anyone else that want to join, you can definitely go to onewlifeglobal.org and sign up. You know, we do have a process, but if that's you're interested in, you can definitely sign up. Okothi Yafe, did you want to share anything in regards to retreat? Because I know it's next strong. So I don't know if anybody had any questions in the chat. I didn't see any
Wait a
questions,
minute.
but go ahead.
I didn't say my thing. I want to
Okay.
get up and do my thing.
I thought you was going to go
I want to get up and do my thing. Can I hit it on the one? And then we'll go into the retreat. But one of the things I'm definitely gonna be working on, or actually have been being able to get over things and to really, see where it's not about what am I getting? Can you feel the void that's in me because I feel abandoned? But being in a space where I can see where, okay, how can I just serve? Because, when you take that time to really look back and really see, like, the Most High has looked out for you. So everything that you felt like you didn't have, you had it. The Most High provided it in whatever way. It didn't look like what you wanted it to look like, but you got it, and you even have it now. So you have you really don't have a space to ask for anything. You just have the space to serve. So I would say getting over whatever I felt like I didn't get. And that, to me, that leads into that whole being a role model, because the way you carry yourself and how you act is gonna become just what you live, and you'll be that role model. And I would say those are the things I'm gonna do, and then continuing to open up and share more, and realize, like, that whole, like, pushing people away because, oh, I'm on my own, I can do it myself, I don't have to rely on the Most High to think, or I don't have to rely on my master to guide me, or if I'm struggling through something or struggling with something, I don't have to take it to my sister and say, hey, I'm still struggling with this thing. But knowing, like, I'm not by myself. I don't have to be by myself. I don't have to push people away, but I can, have that connection with others. So that's what I would say I'm going to be doing.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Now, you can proceed.
I just wanted to add. I'm sorry. I just want to add real quickly. And it's funny you just said that, and I just slipped my mind when you said that. Service is very important. That's actually helps balance or heal the inner child with me. When I'm bogged down, service is very important. So that's one of the things that I really, going back to role model, it's definitely the service of others, particularly those who don't know, who don't understand, who don't comprehend. Service to those, and that's what Chief was trying to teach all of us, is that being Yahawashad to the space, when that's wherever that comes up, being a service to the community yourself. It's of course it's us in Anu, and of course when we're outside of Anu. So that way, what is showing up in the space. So just wanted to add that too. But give thanks.
Thank you. All right. There's not any announcements in regards to the retreat, so we can close on out. All right. Peace, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.